All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for today, leading up to tonight's major episode for The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 15, The Calm Before. This is the big one coming up, and we'll give our thoughts first on how we think The Walking Dead got so old so fast. Alright, dudes, so tonight is the night we have our major episode for The Walking Dead Season 9. Well, our major episode for this half, of course. I don't know if it's as anticipated as Rick's final episode was, his last two episodes there, especially at the end of episode 4, where he actually falls in the rebar. I mean, that was pretty brutal, right? So, with Rick leaving and everything during the first half, I mean, that was, maybe that will be the biggest episode of Season 9, but I'm not sure because, at the end of the day, Rick is just one. He's the most important character in the whole series, I want to say, but he is just one character. In this one tonight, we're going to see a bloodbath, probably, so it will most likely include more than a dozen characters all killed off at once, which is going to be really crazy to see. We've never seen anything like that in The Walking Dead before. I did a video 2 days ago about this episode. They're kind of comparing it to Game of Thrones Red Wedding, so it should be crazy. And, just really looking forward to it with you guys. Hope you guys enjoy it through, and check back the channel tonight after you're done watching it I'll do a reaction for it, as we should, because it's going to be nuts. Review as per usual, predictions for the actual finale, which is episode 16, technically, the technical finale, even though tonight looks like it's going to be the bigger of the two episodes. And, lots of Q&As this week after everything we see happen and the future of the series and everything. So, to start things off with this one, we got an interview with Angela Kang where she touched on kind of, the major comic book deviations that they've gone through in the series. But I've kind of been thinking about this one recently when we did the preview pictures for this episode. We were looking at certain characters that, of course, have been in the series for a little while now, and they all look old, right? They all look so old. So I want to touch on this one and get your guys' thoughts on it. You can certainly leave your comments below. This is what I think about how the series got so old so fast. To me, it seems like, okay, the series is in its 9th year. Okay, that's a long time for a 16-episode, hour-long run series after season. What season did they start with the 16 episodes? Was it 4 or whatever? 3, something like that. When they started doing, a ton of episodes for Walking Dead like that, and ever since they have. So they've done over 100 now, over 100, of these hour-long episodes for The Walking Dead. So every year they're cranking out 16 more. They got Fear the Walking Dead going too. They've given some of their characters to Fear the Walking Dead, and so it is an, I would say, older series, but it's a time-tested series. It's a well-developed series. It's a series that people know what they're getting with it. It's been on for a long time, but I do think that the decision, and Angela Kang in this interview kind of touches on the decision for the time jump here, but I think the time skip after Rick left, jumping so far forward ahead to bring in, Judith at an age, here she confirms that she's 10 years old in the TV series, so it's nice to get an actual age because that was kind of a little bit fuzzy, in some ways of how old Judith actually was. Now we know, okay, she's 10 years old right now in the show. Of course, after this year, they'll probably skip the wintertime. So there may be even, a good amount of skip again for aging. But, the biggest thing about it is that a lot of our old school survivors, when they did that, when they jumped ahead so far, a lot of them really started to look old. They started to do some effects, like you have Carol with the long hair, right? So she's got the longer hair, which I just think makes her look like way older than she used to look. I mean, when she had the shorter hair, it was like, okay, she looked a little bit old. But with the long, grayish to white hair, it's like she looks so old, it's crazy. Even Rosita's got some, I don't know if they put gray in it or what. It just looks very different from before, right? In the last couple of years prior to that, even Daryl's got some gray in his beard and everything, and it's kind of crazy, man. But I think subliminally, what it did was it sent us the symbol or the underlying kind of idea, the images of all of these characters are old now. Like Rick was old. You guys remember the old man Rick stuff in season 8 where he's lying on the bed and stuff, and he has kind of the beard and everything in the dream and all that. And so he started looking a little bit older too in season 9. But they kind of, went through with that in season 8. We got to kind of see that in the dream state in the trailer and everything. But it's like, wow, man, yeah, because they decided to do the time skip, and they almost made everyone look like, I think that one good thing about it is they made everyone look legitimately 6 years older or more. Like all the characters look way older than they did prior. But at the same time, that makes us feel like, as a viewer, at least for me and from what I've seen in comments over this year, since they did the time skip, it's like, whoa, The Walking Dead got old, man. It just simply got old. And so it did, or at least that's the way it feels like when I look at some of those OG type of survivors. So, and especially because they're going to be killing off so many, tonight or at the end of this season, it really begs to question. You have Michonne leaving too. Whether or not Maggie returns, it really brings in kind of consideration, like, okay, who are they going to have kind of be at the forefront now? Other characters, like, for example, they use Connie, quite a bit. Magna's group has gotten a lot of time this season, which is good because they've kind of built them up quite a bit already, which is nice to see. But let me know what you guys think about the aging of The Walking Dead, and did it change the way you viewed the series after they did the time skip? They added all the gray and everything to some of the different character designs, and they made everyone look that much older. The series, all of a sudden, for me, started to feel way older. So, and it didn't feel like fresh anymore after that, or it didn't feel like, which it kind of had lost that anyway. But it just felt like once they did that, it was like, oh man, it's so old now. So, underlying, The Walking Dead boss on major comic book Deviation. So it says there's a jump in the comics, but we decided to go a little further ahead in time than the comics do, showrunner Angela Kang said at PaleyFest in Los Angeles when explaining the 6-year time jump that followed Rick's disappearance, dwarfing the 2-year time skip that separated All Out War and A New Beginning in the comic books. And to add to that also, it's actually longer than 6 years, because that 6 years is the time skip after Rick goes missing. But there was another skip before that, too, in between the time from the end of All Out War to where the season started. So it actually isn't just 2 years versus 6 years. It's actually more than that. I think it's like 7.5 or 8 years or something like that, because they time jumped quite a bit at the beginning of the season, a little bit, and then they time jumped again. So there was like these huge jumps, throughout the season. Or like after the premiere, there was a little bit of a jump because Maggie was kind of bruised up and everything, and then the next episode she wasn't, and they kind of explained that some time, had passed between those 2 episodes too. So they've done a lot of jumps so far this year in The Walking Dead. So then it goes on to say, I kind of felt like, okay, we're writing out Rick. How do we promise that there is so much more cool story to tell with all these amazing characters that we have on the show? So I thought it would be a really fun twist to jump that time at the end of his last episode. That jump significantly aged up Judith, who's now 10 years old. We're all so inspired by the comics, Kang added. Kirkman is such a master of the page turner. You read it, and it's like a juicy, just fun comic to read. There's so many wonderful, iconic moments in the comics. Moments you get to and just say, oh my God, I can't believe he just did that, right? So I have to see this on screen. As writers, as with any fans of the comics, we have those same responses, but with the show, we have such a different array of characters and in such different circumstances that it's never going to be exactly the comic, nor should it be. It's a different medium. And so let's stop there for a moment. That's totally true, right? In the comics, you never have to worry about actors wanting to leave. You never have to worry about them getting other jobs or other roles. None of that, how much they get paid, contracts, and whether or not they're worth your contracts. None of this stuff are considerations, keeping your costs down or anything like, you just get Charlie Adler to draw it, and it's done. Totally different considerations. And also even promotion and everything for each season is totally different, right? Like, it's just a completely different animal, really. 2 of its leading characters now driving much of the action belong to that same group of Deviations. Norman Reedus' Daryl was created exclusively for the show, while Melissa McBride's Carol was wildly different in the comic books, where she died relatively early into its run. And, her version of character in the comics was like completely different, totally different, and they almost went the same route, then they decided to switch it, which is great to see. The writers then don't feel beholden by the source material, but instead interpret Kirkman's work for their own medium. So what's really fun is to go, here's that amazing moment in the comics, and here's how it made us feel. Kang said, now, how do we capture that feeling, even if the way you get to it is not literally the same way the comic got to it. So about having to change it for the TV series versus the comic book version. And even Kirkman, over on the series, he pretty much said that if they did it verbatim, it wouldn't be the same, because a lot of the comic is shocks, certain character deaths that you wouldn't expect. Rick getting his hand cut off, for example, like over a decade ago, right? All these different things happening that you never expected to see. And if they did it the same way in the TV series, like exactly the same, everyone who read the comics would know what would happen ahead of time, and it would take away a lot of, it'd be like the ultimate spoiler, right? Like everyone would know exactly what happens. This way, they keep it still fun, because we know, for example, tonight's going to be a bloodbath, but we don't know who's going to be involved, unless you're privy to, actual spoilers, right? But, it's kind of exciting, because some of the biggest come, but you don't know how they're going to interpret it, and you don't know how they're going to, how they're going to deal with it. So the anticipation to see is there, and whether or not you like it. And sometimes, you really like it, and sometimes it's like a Carl situation in season 8, and everybody hates it, and so it's like, you wish they wouldn't have done that, right? It looks like a mistake. Next is Norman Reedus, who touched in on the possible relationship between Daryl and Connie, and he goes into some details about it, but then he says basically, and I think that's something that I don't want to say much, you know what I mean? The boss is right there, Reedus said, motioning towards showrunner Angela Kang. But yeah, I think he has a lot of respect for her, he admires her for sure, and he kind of talks a bit about how Connie's like a leader in her own way, and how she kind of approaches him to sort of, go with him when he leaves, right? At the end of a couple episodes ago, before the beta fight, right? When they go to save Lydia and Henry. So it's good stuff. You can read it through if you want to. When addressing Daryl's lack of a love life in February, Reedus compared the woodsman to a flamingo or a penguin, saying if Daryl finds love, he's going to stick with it. I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy stuff that he gets into. I don't know. And then there was also one about Norman Reedus being happy that he doesn't have to be a Rick 2.0, or he doesn't have to be just like Rick. It says, I was like, dude, Reedus said Friday at PaleyFest. But I remember I was talking to Angela. I was like, don't give me Rick speeches. Daryl's not the guy who's going to build a soapbox and say, we're going to build a community. He's just not that guy. In handling Reedus' transition to top billed actor on the series, the star added Kang has done such a good job of keeping Daryl, which Reedus said he's super grateful for. And that's true too also. He does have to stay to be the same character. You wouldn't want it to feel totally contrived to where it's like we know just because Rick is leaving that Daryl has to kind of do the same thing now. You also want Daryl to stay who he is and stay Daryl, even though he's going to change somewhat over the years, obviously. So, and then there was another one where he mentioned about basically everybody still being with him on the show who's left, from Andrew Lincoln to John Bernthal and everybody else, and Scott Wilson, everybody on the show that he worked with, and them still kind of being there, even though Daryl's kind of still around, and a lot of them aren't at this point. And basically that he doesn't want to be number one or be called number one in the show, and to be like a Rick 2.0. He wants to be his own way of doing things, and he wants to be Daryl still. And Daryl has his own kind of idea of how things should go and how to do stuff. So we do have a few questions for today before tonight's big episode. Obviously, we'll have lots more after that, so we'll get into these more later on. But here's one here. Cole R. says, I'm very curious to see how Negan's story evolves. I thought he would surely do something to redeem himself during his prison break stroll, or that Judith would free him. But neither happened. At this point, do you think Negan will follow his comic storyline? So I think that Negan does have a lot of exciting things coming up in The Walking Dead in the future. I think to some degree he probably will fulfill his comic book storyline, and it's just going to be different from the TV series. I think this season, to wrap things up, we probably won't see much from him in these last 2 episodes. But next year in season 10, I expect to see a lot from Negan. So Yeah, it's going to be good. He's not going to stay in that cell forever. Definitely not. They're going to use him. They're going to need to, and they're going to need all the help they can get against the Whisperers. So they're going to turn him into a weapon. I think. Give him back Lucille, or he'll have to go get her and go whip some Whisperer ass. It's going to be fun. Crimson Ghost says, I think one full season on villains is more than enough. And yeah, he's got a good point. We discussed this one fairly recently. It probably is, right? One full season per group of villains probably is enough. Whenever they go longer than that, people start complaining, especially with Saviors being 2.5 years. And like a lot of people were just really complaining at that point. So even the governor who came back after the first year to be like a year and a half, he probably should have been 2 years because his story arc in the comics with Woodbury was so long. But they adapted it really quickly, and not that many people complained. But most of the complaining was in the second year. From what I remember, people just didn't want to see it anymore. But he was still kind of around, and they were kind of like, They kind of wanted him to be gone after the 1 year. So, yeah, but the other thing, too, is that they can't always do it either. Sometimes, could you picture Negan and the Saviors being done in 1 year, like one season? It would have been so crammed. Maybe a year and a half would have been good, or 2 full years instead of 2.5 in total, if you think of it. For the Saviors, yeah, at all. So definitely too much. Brian Atcham also said 2.5 years was definitely too long for the Savior arc as well. And then Adam Ford said Abraham is going to be in one of these spin-offs. So there's some kind of chatter about that, or there's some kind of info about that out there. We'll see Michael Cudlitz, how much he's going to be involved in Walking in the future, whether or not he's going to continue to direct some more episodes, whether or not he'll be involved somehow in Fear, or do like some kind of guest appearance or something. That'd be kind of cool. I always like to see him in the series, and I hope you're right. I hope he will be. So let me know what you guys think about this one. Tonight's episode should be great. Really looking forward to it, and I hope you guys enjoy it quite a bit. And let me know what you guys think about The Walking Dead's age, and about how the time jump impacted or affected the way you think of the show, and how old it's gotten, or how long it's run for. If you like the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and if you're new and you want to subscribe, bottom left to subscribe. That's it for this one, and I'll see you guys back again tonight for the episode. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.